everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining me today for Yoga Inner City's virtual studio class for beginners. I'm Kate and I'm going to be leading us through this practice together today. Today's practice is going to be Yin for beginners, so we'll be walking through the foundational principles of Yin Yoga, which has the intention of stimulating, strengthening, and reviving the deeper connective tissues of the body using longer, more passive periods of holding poses. With this yoga practice and with any yoga practice that you participate in, it's important to keep in mind that yoga is your practice, which means it's more important to pay attention to how each pose feels within the body versus what it looks like on the outside. Your body never has to look like mine or anyone else's around you. In fact, if we were all in a yoga studio together practicing a yin class, all of our bodies would look different because the intention is not to make a shape with our body. The intention is to find a mild to moderate sensation within the target area of each pose. So to do that today, I invite you to use any props that you might need. You see in my space, I'm using a cleared space, a yoga mat, a yoga blanket, a couple blocks, and I will also be using my yoga cushion at some point. Maybe if you have a bolster or something like that, that might help through this practice as well, but feel free to use any props that best support you. And please consult a medical practitioner anytime you practice exercise, including yoga, with any questions or concerns. This is especially important if you are pregnant, nursing, taking medication, or have any pre-existing medical conditions. And with that said, we can begin. So I invite you to find a comfortable, easy seat or sukhasana. And if a comfortable, easy seat is not comfortable for you, I invite you to find a seated posture that is. So maybe you choose to sit in a chair or up against a wall. Maybe you choose to elevate the hips above the knees by sitting on a block or a bolster or a cushion. Maybe you choose to have both legs straight out in front of you or one leg straight out in front of you. Maybe the legs are crisscrossed. Whatever comfortable seat means to you, I invite you to find that. And once you have that, take a moment just to rock from side to side, front and back, making note of where the body is making contact with the surface. Noticing where the sit bones make contact with where you're seated. Noticing if you can feel where the feet are touching the floor, or perhaps the legs. Just bringing your awareness to your seat. And finding stillness. On the inhale, elongate the spine, growing as tall as you possibly can. On the exhale, drawing shoulders away from ears, maybe even choosing or exploring what it feels like to slightly squeeze the shoulder blades together behind you, opening up the front of the chest. Resting hands on the knees. If you need more of a grounding practice today, maybe you explore palms on thighs. If you need to be more open and receptive today, maybe you explore hands up towards the ceiling. And if it's comfortable to do so, gently close the eyes. Taking these first few rounds of your natural breath to notice whatever is happening on the mat right now. What draws your attention? Is there anything you notice happening physically? Perhaps a sensation or a part of the body that's talking to you? Anything happening emotionally? Is there an emotion that is present? Anything happening mentally? Is there a thought, pattern of thought? Or is the mind narrating your whole experience right now? Without any judgment or manipulation, just notice what there is to notice about the experience on your mat. Bringing the awareness intentionally to the breath without changing the breath. Just press the awareness on the breath now. Noticing if you can notice where the breath enters the body on the inhale, where it travels within the body, where it exits the body on the exhale. Notice what you notice about each inhale and exhale. Again, without trying to change the breath, just notice how it is in this moment. Are your inhales deep and slow? Are they short and shallow? Are your inhales longer or shorter than your exhales? Are there any holds in the breath? Are you holding the breath on the inhale or the exhale? Again, without changing the breath, just notice what there is to notice without any judgment or manipulation of your experience. At any point in time throughout our practice tonight, I invite you to use the breath as an anchor if the breath works. So anytime you notice the mind wandering off into the past or into the present, anytime you feel disconnected from the present experience on the mat, I invite you to remind yourself to bring yourself back to the breath. Without changing it, just bringing the awareness to what the breath is doing. We have this beautiful gift of the breath that is a constant reminder of where our present awareness can go if it ever gets lost. Bringing hands to heart center, creating an intention today to be present with your body, to be kind to your body, to listen to all of its signals that it will give you throughout the practice today, and to treat yourself like you would a best friend. Listening to the body without any judgment, without any harsh words, giving your body and yourself what you need today. When you are done setting your intention, return the hands to the legs and gently open the eyes if they were closed. We're going to begin our first yin posture in toe stand. And toe stand can be somewhat of a spicy pose for our feet. So if this is too uncomfortable on your feet or your knees in any way, please just continue to keep a comfortable seat because we'll be adding in a simple neck stretch to it. So to come into toe stand, what I am doing right here, I invite you to come onto your hands and knees and tabletop. And notice already how this feels. If this is too much pressure on the knees, please come out of it and maintain a comfortable, easy seat. If this is okay on the knees, I invite you to curl the toes on the mat behind you, bringing those bottoms of the toes to the mat. And notice how this feels. So the heels and the bottoms of the feet are pressing away from the body. The toes are on the mat behind you. If this is already quite a stretch behind the backs of the feet, again, come out of it. Just sit in an easy seat. We don't need to have a toe stand for the pose we're about to do next. But if this feels okay, I invite you to explore sinking the hips back very slowly. The slower you go, the more mindful you can be about what sensation you're feeling behind the back sides of the feet. And if you can come to an upright position, you might explore resting all of your weight on the heels. But because this is a spicy pose for the bottoms of our feet, I imagine that most of us would benefit from raising our hips by sitting on blocks or a cushion or a chair of some sort, so we're not putting all of our body weight on top of our heels, which directly goes to the backs of our feet. So notice what feels best for you. Ideally, we want to be in somewhat of an upright position because of the pose we'll be going into next. So if you can't do this in an upright position, please just come to a comfortable seat. If you can do toe stand with some or all of the pressure on your heels, I invite you to enter that. And then as much as you possibly can, relax the feet. Notice if you can feel the muscles in the toes and the feet relax. This is a great stretch to do for the fascia on the bottoms of our feet. If you've ever experienced plantar fasciitis, this is a great stretch to do, not while you have that going on, but prior to doing any strenuous exercise or after, to help stretch out the bottoms of the feet. Then if you are comfortably in toe stand or a seated posture, we'll also add in a simple neck release. So wherever you are, I invite you to bring your hands on the thighs, relax the shoulders away from the ears, and on the exhale, draw the right ear towards the right shoulder, breathing into the left neck space. So we have two potential target areas here, the bottoms of our feet and our neck. So you might be feeling a sensation or a few sensations in one or both of those areas. One of the principles of yin yoga is to find our mild to moderate threshold of sensation. And that really is the key to practicing a safe and beneficial yin practice. If we have a sensation that's less than something, we're not really into the full practice of stimulating, strengthening, and reviving the deeper connective tissues. And if we have a sensation that's well beyond a mild to moderate, maybe into a painful sensation, then we're doing our body harm. So it's important we find that Goldilocks zone of sensation in each of the target areas or area, depending on what you are doing, and staying present with those sensations. So right now, I feel a mild to moderate sensation in my feet. I'm not feeling much of anything in my neck. And if that's true for you too, you might explore what it feels like to manipulate the chin, maybe drawing the chin towards the direction of the mat or up towards the ceiling. Very slowly making micro movements with the neck until you find an angle of the neck that gives you that mild to moderate sensation, and then pause there and breathe into that spot. Today that in a yin practice we hold each pose for an extended period of time, so we have an opportunity to make this a highly contemplative practice. Each pose in its own way might very well be a meditation, a practice of bringing the awareness back to the present moment. You might choose to rest the awareness on the breath or rest the awareness in the target areas wherever you feel the mild to moderate sensation of this pose. On the inhale, bring the head back up to center very slowly, and then on the exhale, release the neck to the opposite direction, left ear to left shoulder. Same thing on this side. Finding a spot in the neck space that feels good to breathe into, and then relaxing the shoulder, the arms, and the neck. Staying present within the mild to moderate sensation, knowing that if we go beyond that, it's an invitation to come out of it. And on the inhale, carefully return the head back to center. If you are in toe stand, carefully return to hands and knees, tabletop, taking the pressure off of the toes and then very gently bringing the tops of the feet to touch the mat, releasing the toes from their position and allowing them to rest where they are. If you were in an easy seat or any type of seated posture without the toe stand, just coming into tabletop, wrists beneath shoulders, knees beneath hips. We'll do an opportunity here for some movement by adding cat and cow. On the inhale, drop the belly, lift the chin for cow. On the exhale, tuck the chin, press up and into the shoulder blades for cat. Inhale, drop the belly, lift the chin, cow. Exhale, tuck the chin, round the spine, cat. 3 more to the pace of your own breath. Giving yourself permission to add any extra movements you might need in your cat and cow today. As I said at the start of class, yin is a primarily seated practice where we hold poses for an extended period of time. So if your body is calling for movement, take an opportunity to add any movement that you need in this pose here. Finding stillness in tabletop, coming into heart melting pose, keeping the knees and the hips where they are, walking the hands forward, bringing the forehead towards the direction of the mat. In this pose, keeping the hips high adds a little bit more pressure into the shoulders. So notice if that's true for you, and if it's too much, you can choose to lower the hips any amount until you feel a mild to moderate sensation in the chest, the shoulders, the arms. This might also be a great pose to do with a bolster supporting the torso or with a block beneath the forehead. So noticing how your body feels and then adjusting the pose so that the target area, which is the heart center, the upper spine, the shoulders, the arms, till they feel a mild to moderate sensation. Completely relaxing them. Noting if you can't relax them, that might be your body's way of telling you that you're too deep within the pose. So coming out of it a little bit, maybe adding some props, repositioning yourself, and trying again. We want to enter each pose mindfully and slowly so that we're present for what the body's telling us. Where is our mild to moderate threshold today? As with any yin pose, if you're feeling a mild to moderate sensation, we will stay here through this short amount of time within this hold. If you're not feeling much of any sensation, you might explore going deeper into the pose. And to do so in heart melting pose, you might choose to bend the elbows, bringing the hands behind the head in reverse prayer, or maybe even coming to the back sides of the neck or the shoulders. You might choose to place blocks beneath the elbows here, raising the elbows above the head. There's always 2 ways we can adjust a pose to come out of it, to soften the sensation in an area, or to go deeper into the pose. But whichever way you're choosing to modify the pose within your body, always leading with that intention of doing no harm, to staying within that mild to moderate threshold of sensation. If your hands are over the head, slowly return the hands to the mat. And everyone add some weight to the palms and the forearms as we shift our weight into our forearms, pressing ourselves back into tabletop very slowly and mindfully. Coming into child's pose from here, as long as it feels okay on the knees, bringing the big toes to touch behind you and widening the knees any distance that feels good within the body. Maybe they're wider than the hips, maybe they're right beneath the hips, your choice. On the exhale, sink the hips over the heels, walking the hands forward, bringing the forehead down to the mat once more. If the forehead doesn't comfortably come to the mat, you can choose to rest it on a prop like a block, a rolled up blanket, cushion, anything of your choice. This is also another great pose to do with a bolster beneath the torso to support you. You can also do child's pose on the back, hugging the knees in towards the chest. So the intention here is to stimulate the inner lines of the legs and possibly the back sides of the hips and the spine, looking for a mild to moderate sensation in one, two, or all of those target areas I just mentioned. Once you have that mild to moderate sensation, relax into the pose. Disengage every muscle you possibly can. Knowing that you always have the choice to stay present so that when the pose, the sensations in the pose change, you can adjust the posture accordingly. You can modify in a direction to soften the pose, creating more comfort, or you can modify in a way to create more intensity. But again, always staying within that mild to moderate threshold of sensation. One way I can tell within my own body if I'm too far into the pose, if I'm too deep, my body will naturally clench up. I'll get tightness in muscles that I shouldn't be engaging. I'm not intending to engage. So notice if that's true for you. It might be out of habit within the body. You can give yourself permission to relax and explore how that feels. And if your body can't comfortably relax, it could be a signal to tell you to come out of it a little bit. Add a prop. Support yourself. Try again. On the next inhale, adding some weight to those forearms and carefully pulling yourself back onto hands and knees. And then lowering down onto the mat, lowering the belly down onto the mat, coming right into Sphinx pose. For Sphinx pose, relaxing the legs, relaxing the belly and the spine, elbows beneath shoulders, palms on the mat, fingers facing the top of the mat. Notice how this feels in the low spine. If it's too intense of a sensation, walk those fingertips forward any amount to reduce the extension in the spine until you feel a mild to moderate sensation. So some people might just be laying on the mat on their belly with their chin on the mat. That might be enough of a sensation in their low spine for them. And that is perfectly okay. Remembering we want to listen to our body and take the pose where we feel the sensation that we are intended to feel, not going beyond that. And if you are here in Sphinx pose with the elbows beneath the shoulders and you're not feeling much of anything in the low spine, then you might choose to explore placing a block beneath each elbow, which adds some more space, more extension in the spine. noting what works best for you, what your body needs, where and how you feel this pose, and then relax all the muscles in the target area, relax the belly, relax the glutes, relax the legs. In these pauses of silence, notice what the mind is doing, and if it wanders off the mat, as it naturally will, because that's what it's been conditioned to do, you can gently bring it back to the present moment, either to the breath or to the sensation that you are feeling in the target area. And it really doesn't matter if you have to do that 100 times in the minute that we're here together. Every time you bring the mind back to the present moment, you are strengthening the mind. You're creating new neural pathways that enhance mindfulness, kind of repaving old roads out of habit, creating stronger connections. Even though it might be frustrating and difficult to do in silence the first few times, it's such a wonderful opportunity to rewrite those habits. On the next exhale, slowly lower the torso to the mat, bringing the right cheek to touch, completely resting on the belly, relaxing every muscle. This is our first true resonance pose of the practice together today. We often will add these mini resting breaths between body and opportunity to regain the normal sensation of the target area, which normally only takes seconds to a minute or so. Yin yoga is one of the best practices to do in the evening hours at the end of the day after all of your major exercise is over. Noticing within your body how the low spine feels, and if it feels as though it's regained its normal sensation, you might choose to add some movement here by bending the knees and rocking the feet from left to right. Bringing the feet to stillness, resting the tops of the feet on the mat, moving. Extend the right arm in line with the right shoulder, palm facing down to start. Notice how this feels in the right arm and the right shoulder. If you're already feeling a mild to moderate sensation within the target area, stay right here. If you're not feeling much of anything, you might explore rolling onto the right hip. Maybe bringing the left foot behind the right leg or in front of the right leg. Using the right hand as a kickstand to support your practice, support your torso. Rolling onto that right hip any amount, if any at all, to find the mild to moderate sensation. Then completely relax that right shoulder, relax that right arm, that right hand. very common in our culture. Our work practices are to keep us sitting for the majority of the day. The fronts of our shoulders and our low spine tend to round forward. So these two stretches, Sphinx pose, broken wing, can help reverse the effects of sitting all day and the amount of stress that puts on our body. On the exhale, carefully and slowly roll onto the belly, keeping the right hand where it is for a moment, noticing what you notice about the right shoulder and the right arm. And when it feels as though the right shoulder and arm have regained normal sensations, switch the cheek that's on the mat, bringing the left cheek to touch. Bring the left hand out in line with the left shoulder, palm on the mat. Notice how this feels within the shoulder and the arm space. If you're already feeling a mild to moderate sensation, stay right here. If you're not feeling much of anything, I invite you to roll onto the left hip. Any amount until you feel mild to moderate sensation in the left shoulder, the left arm. Relaxing the left shoulder, arm, and hand. A gentle reminder here that all of our bodies will look different. Again, not trying to get on that hip. If you don't need to, you can already feel the mild to moderate sensation lying flat on the belly, staying there with the left arm out by your side. On the next exhale, lower the torso back down to the mat, keeping the left hand where it is, allowing it to rest for a moment, noticing any differences or similarities between the right and the left. Notice if you can stay present with the sensations in that left arm, as they may change throughout the duration of this resting pose. Once the left hand feels as though it's regained its normal sensation, bringing both hands beneath the shoulders and using those strong arm muscles to carefully press yourself back into table and through table into a seated position on the mat, coming into dragonfly or half dragonfly. So for dragonfly, both legs would be open in a V. For half dragonfly, one foot would be out as the other leg is pointed in towards that thigh. I will model half dragonfly for you today, but know that if you want to have both legs out at the same time, you might choose to do that instead. Wherever you are, in full dragonfly or half dragonfly, notice what the torso is doing. So if you feel like gravity's pulling you backwards and you have to engage the core just to sit in an upright position, or you're reaching for the legs to pull your torso up, you might be a great candidate to elevate the hips by sitting on a block or cushion of some sort. Notice how that changes the feeling in the torso. And if that feels better, it feels like you're less engaged in the torso, you might choose to continue this for your practice of dragonfly or half dragonfly, but also make a note of how that knee feels. Sometimes when we elevate our hips, it takes away the support of the floor from behind the backside of the knee. And if that's true for you, if there's any pain in the knee at all, I invite you to cushion beneath the knee. So maybe adding a rolled up blanket or a towel to add that extra support that the knee might need. It might be especially important or any previous knee injury. For dragonfly, full or half dragonfly, notice what you feel in the inside lines of the leg. If you're doing half dragonfly with the left leg out like I am, notice what you feel in the inside line of the left leg. If you're in full expression of dragonfly, notice what the inside lines of both legs feel like. If you're already feeling a mild to moderate sensation, stay right here. Keep your torso in an upright position. If you're feeling too much of a sensation in the inner lines of the legs, bring those hands behind you, using the hands as a kickstand, leaning away from the legs. And if you're not feeling much of a sensation at all, I invite you to walk those fingertips forward any amount until you do feel a mild to moderate sensation. So again, if we were all in a class together, all of our bodies would look different because we have different bodies entirely. We're coming in with different experiences. So our bodies never have to look like anyone else's. It matters more about how and where we feel each pose within the body. And once you've found your mild to moderate sensation in dragonfly or half dragonfly, completely relax the legs. Allow gravity and time to do the work here. It can be common for the legs to clench up. Notice if that's true for you, if your thighs are clenching or you notice your hips clenching at all. Give your body permission to release and relax. And if you can't do that comfortably, it could be because you're too deep into the pose. Come out of it a little bit, using props to support you, or it could just be out of habit. It could be out of habit to protect us. Technically, it could be out of habit. You always have the right in your practice to choose whether you want to explore those habits or not. You can always choose to back away from any sensation, physical or emotional, that might be too difficult, too challenging at this time. As we continue to hold this pose for an extended period of time, I invite you to stay present for the sensations as they may or may not change. If your mild to moderate threshold disappears, it's an invitation to go a little bit deeper. If it becomes too intense, it's an invitation to come out of it. You are in half dragonfly like I am, with the left leg out. We're going to switch in just a moment. If you are in full expression of dragonfly, I invite you to stay right where you are. For half dragonfly, if your body is leaning forward or backward, slowly bring the torso back to an upright position. Bring the right and left legs out in front of you. Give them a little shake. And then switch the legs. So my left leg was out before. Now my right leg is going out. Same thing on this side. You can choose to be Sitting on a block or a cushion, you can choose to have the arms behind you to lean away from the sensation, or you can choose to be in any version of a forward fold with the torso coming forward over the legs. Wherever you are, keeping in mind we're looking for that mild to moderate sensation in the inside lines of the legs. The legs, relax that right leg, right foot. It's okay if the toes sickle in here. In many more hatha yang classes, we're taught to keep the toes pointed a certain direction, and yin, allow the body to do what it will naturally do. As long as you are maintaining that mild to moderate sensation, you can trust that it will be safe for your body. It's when we move out of that sensation, it's when it becomes dangerous or harmful to the body. As a reminder, if your awareness has wandered off, bringing it back to the present moment, noticing how your body is feeling physically and adjusting the pose if you need to refine that mild to moderate, going a little deeper or coming out of it a little bit. And a reminder, anytime the mind, gently bring it back. Using your breath, the sensation as you are in a forward fold or your hands are behind you. Add some weight to the hands. Slowly press the torso upright position. Extend both of them out in front of you, giving them a little shake. Noticing how the legs feel, bringing the hands behind you, allowing the legs to rest, and staying present for any sensations that may the feet might feel good. You might choose to do so. And we'll make our way onto our backs, lying flat on our back. Taking a full body stretch by extending arms up overhead. You getting as long and tall as you possibly can on the mat. Moving into banana asana from here with the arms up overhead. Slowly walk the feet over towards the right edge of the mat. Notice how this feels in the left side body. You might choose to cross the left ankle over right or the right ankle over left. Notice how this changes. Pose within your body. Side by side, you might not enjoy the cross of the ankles. Once you have your feet positioned, you might explore walking the hands over towards the right edge of the mat as well. So if you were to look down at yourself from the ceiling. Your body might be the shape of or the letter C or a banana, hence the name of the pose. And the target area here is the whole left side of the body. Could be starting at the legs, going all the way up arms, but that whole we're looking to stimulate in a mild way. If you have that mild to moderate sensation, completely surrender into this pose. Relax every muscle you can. Turn the arms and the torso back to center. Pause there for a moment before carefully returning the legs back to center. Keeping the arms up overhead as long as it's still comfortable to do so. Notice any differences or similarities between the left side body and the right. That might be going on the body as they creative rest. Bringing the feet to the mat, widening the feet so they're wider than the hips, and if movement is calling for you today, you choose to rock. And then setting up for the opposite side. So on the inhale, elongate the legs, stretch the arms up overhead, taking a full body stretch. On the exhale, walk the feet over to the left edge of the mat. Pausing there, notice how the right side body feels. You might be exploring what it feels like to cross the right leg, left or left over right. And then you explore walking to the edge of the mat. Same thing on this side. Perhaps your body is shaped like cashew, whatever image works best for you. And once you have your mild to moderate sensation, the whole right side of the surrender into the pose. Practices having the opportunity for gravity and time. Normally, gravity and time are two things throughout life that the hour Gravity and time are your friend. They may help you get to those deeper connective tissues that are not often targeted in a typical yang exercise or yang yoga classes. Your next arms to center. And slowly return. Find stillness at first in the left side bodies. Notice any similarities or differences between them. And then inhale, hug the knee. Giving yourself a hug. It's a great pose to do if you have a yoga strap as well. Wrap the strap over the shins. That feels good. From left to right feels. The right knee to the chest as you straighten the left leg. Exploring that right foot, edge of the mat. Cage, but you're trying to avoid your rib cage. Bring the left knee to meet the right, like you're doing a cannonball. And exhale, extend the right leg. Straight as you hug the. And then bringing it over towards the left edge of the mat. Avoiding the rib cage. Turn the left knee back to center. Exhale, extend. Coming into four Shavasana. Standard resting. Simply on the back or in any pose that feels for you. Be placing my head to support my head. Adding a cushion beneath my shoulder. Great here as well. A lot with the shoulder. In my Shavasana, I'm going to be continuing to open up the shoulders, the upper spine. This is also a pose you can do. The shoulder blade. It's best for the body. For your Shavasana, I invite you to support the head. So if the head is hanging or you feel, bring the head to more of a by having a prop beneath to be able to realize what you're choosing for Shavasana. And then you might are open wide. It might tension in the shoulder. what that feels like, or maybe resting down by your side, body. This pose that completely relax. Close. So, giving your body permission to release and relax, starting with the feet and the legs, allowing them to rest. Relaxing. Relaxing the, allowing them to rest heavy where they are. Relaxing the neck and the head and all of the muscles. The eyes and the eyebrows. Completely supported. The benefits from today. Your next inhale, take a full deep breath in through the nose, filling the belly, the rib cage, and the chest with breath. Noticing any sensations that enter the body with the breath. Take a moment to wiggle the fingers and the toes, straightening the legs. They are not already in a straightened position. Bringing slow but gentle movements back into the body. If you have props supporting you, very carefully roll over onto the right and push the props out of the way, coming into fetal position and pausing there for a moment. Pressing yourself back into a comfortable seated posture. Perhaps it's the same you began class with today, but it doesn't have to be. Returning to that long, tall spine. With shoulders drawn away from ears. Bringing the hands to heart center, reconnecting to what's happening on your mat physically. What sensations or messages does the body have for you now? Connecting to what's happening on the mat emotionally. If any is connecting mentally. Acknowledging what thoughts are present, if any. Perhaps taking a moment to between your present moment at the start of class. Closing this evening's practice, honoring your practice. May your practice be of benefit to you and to all of those around you. Thank you very much for sharing your practice with me. Thank you all. Hope to see you sometime soon.